All right, welcome friends to Iron Sharpens Iron. Our quote of the day is from Martin Luther King Jr., Dr. King. Darkness cannot drive out darkness. Only light can do that. Hate cannot drive out hate. Only love can do that. So let's talk about it. All right, welcome back to Iron Sharpens Iron, friends. Solo is back today.
I'm back. I know y'all miss me. It's fine. It's whatever.
We did.
We hate you, Solo, or you're so cute. But I'm back.
Solo is back. We missed you, my friend. We are all glad to have you back with us, but glad that you were able to have that much needed and well-deserved time away from work and to go spend that time with family.
It was good. You forget so often. So one of my, I would say, confidants, technically in the hierarchy as, at work, he is one of my direct reports, but he's one of my friends, confidants, and people I go through for wise counsel. Matt Fowler. He said that his dad told him that no one has ever been fired for taking their PTO. And I found that that's very true. But for whatever reason, as I've climbed the corporate ladder and got to this point where now I have unlimited PTO, I take less PTO than I ever have when I had like a set amount. Like, I don't think I took a vacation for like 2 years before this. So here's me telling all of you and passing on that wise wisdom that no one has ever been fired for taking their PTO. So take the time off. It is so refreshing. It's so worthy. And you're about to go do a little
I'm
PTO
about to go,
action, right?
Yep, heading out tomorrow for some time away. So definitely looking forward to that, which means Solo will have a surprise guest next week.
Yep.
It'll be fun. But friends, we kind of going back to the message today, Solo and I were discussing this earlier this week about what we wanted to talk about. And we felt that the most needed message today is one encapsulated in Dr. King's quote, "Darkness cannot drive out darkness. Only light can do that."
So good.
Hate cannot drive out hate. Only love can do that. As you all know, our primary focus of this show is to put out messages that foster personal growth and development, as well as just fostering positivity, faith, love, and unity in this crazy world.
That's right.
With all that is going on in Los Angeles right now with the riots in the Middle East, I saw on the news this morning about Israel bombing Iran. In Southeast Asia, where there's all the turbulence. In Taiwan, there's generally some turbulence in Myanmar that doesn't get a lot of attention.
India, Pakistan.
Yeah, I mean, it's all over the world, and the just general conflict, the hate and the anger that is pervasive in our world today, whether it's on social media and the general news outlets, just society in general, we reiterate and fully support Dr. King's quote, saying, "Darkness cannot drive out darkness. Only light can do that. Hate cannot and will never drive out hate. Only love can do that."
I feel like it's so important to say. What did Mother Teresa say? She said, "I will never attend your anti-war rally. But if you ever have a pro-peace rally, invite me, I'll be there." I feel like so often we try to hurl spit and vinegar at the other side, thinking that that's going to somewhat dispel the other side. And it's just so unnecessary. And it's so it just doesn't work, right?
Oh.
I get political text messages all the time. And I thought that we weren't supposed to get those. Isn't that like illegal, right? Donate to my cause. And I got a text from Gavin Newsom. I'm not even a California resident,
You're about as far from California as you can be in the United States.
Side of the country. And he's like, "Can you please, is there any way I can convince you to donate any money so I could just keep up my fight with Donald Trump?" And I responded to the text message, knowing fully it's not like Gavin up at 2 o'clock in the morning in his skivvies, hitting up Solo, like, "Maybe you'll throw me some money," but just some, person. And I said, maybe try listening and promoting healthy compromise. Because half the country feels like Donald Trump does. Half the country doesn't. And if half the country is fighting the other half of the country, all that happens is everyone's fighting.
Right.
And it's just, we've gotten into this place where we feel like the other side are villains. And we feel like the only thing that we need to do is fight. and claw for everything that we get, as opposed to, I don't want to run on a platform against somebody. I want to vote for somebody who's running on a platform that is for something. What are you
Yep.
going to do? Not who are you going to fight? What are you for? Not what are you against? What is the light that you're going to bring to this darkness? Not the more darkness that you're going to bring to the more darkness because you have to fight it. It's just, I think that we've forgotten that like energy is attracted to like energy. And the more you put out, the more you get back. And we wonder why we're getting all of this contention when it's just been contention for as long as I can remember now.
Yeah. It is. And, and what you focus on grows stronger. And so I really do think that all this outrage, right? There was a book put out by one of the talking heads, Addicted to Outrage. And I haven't read it, but I heard the title. I'm like, you know what? There's something to that, because to me, I feel it's just a form of control that both parties, all the news outlets, they get us addicted to this outrage, and they just want us angry and watching, the 24-hour news cycle, because it just keeps us in our seat and keeps us kind of enslaved to it. And but to your point, that from your text message from your confidant there, Gavin, that's if you're focused on fighting, you will only bring more contention into the world. But, and with your quote with Mother Teresa, if you're going to have pro-peace, the focus is then on peace, which is why I feel like Dr. King's message is so much more relevant. It's even more relevant today than it was in 1963 when he said that. And I was asked to give a sermon in church this past Sunday, and the topic in the scripture that I was asked to base this off of was at the end of the Gospel of John, when the Savior asks Peter, "Lovest thou me?" He responds, "Yea, Lord, thou knowest I love thee. Feed my sheep." And before I get into the Christianity aspect of this topic, I went and I did a search to say, okay, well, where across the major theologies are there similar messages? And I want to share a few of these. So in Islam, we find a similar message. In the Quran, it says, "Repel evil with that which is better, and your enemy will become as close as an intimate friend." In the Hadith, also part of Islam, it says, "None of you truly believes until he loves for his brother what he loves for himself." In Judaism, in the Torah, it says, "Seek peace and pursue it." Also says, "Love your neighbor as yourself." And then from the Talmud, "The world stands on these three things: on justice, on truth, and on peace. Be of the disciples of Aaron, loving peace and pursuing peace, loving people and bringing them close to the Torah." In Buddhism, the Buddha said, "Better than 1,000 hollow words is one word that brings peace." Hatred does not cease by hatred, going back to what Mother Teresa was saying, but only by love. This is the eternal rule. Just as a mother would protect her only child with her life, even so let one cultivate a boundless love toward all beings.
So good.
And finally, in Hinduism, I'm going to butcher this, so don't crucify me for the mispronunciation, please, viewers. From the Bhagavad Gita and from the Vedas, however you pronounce that, "He who hates no creature who is friendly and compassionate and forgiving, such a devotee is dear to me. May there be peace in the heavens, peace in the atmosphere, peace on the earth. May everything in the universe be peaceful."
I love that. It's so true. I'm reminded of this picture. I pulled it up just here. It's How to Change the World. And let me share this real quick. Are you seeing this? How to Change the World? It's like you have all of these people here that are angry, that are spit and vinegar, that are just upset. And you have this one little guy or gal over to the right and saying, "Love?" And then everyone's like, "Ah, love, you crazy." And they're like, "Love?" And then they're like, well, and then just one person says, you know what? Yeah, that's better. And these people kick them out. The majority that are fighting in the world and going crazy in the world, they say, get out. But now you have two folks that are like, love. And then it's like, you know what? That's when you start getting that landslide of people.
Mm-hmm.
They all leave the one person that's all still angry. And then they're all like, love. And that one person's like, you know what?
Why not?
And that's how you change the world. It just
That's
doesn't
good.
seem like it, right? It's so much easier and so much more satisfying to fight, I've found. I have people at the job, Jake, you know more than anybody, that it feels good to just fight, to stand in that gap and feel like a, you know, maybe I don't want to say a martyr, but just feel like a champion, just standing up for what is right. I'm the David standing against the Goliath. And I'm the only thing that's going to stop the Goliath from destroying the whole world. But if I'm honest with myself, if I were to be the bigger person, I would be my same jovial, funny, trying to make light of the situation, trying to make the other person feel good because I would want to feel good self. And I'm just not that. And in those moments, I feel justified and vindicated because of my anger and fighting, because I feel like I'm the good guy and they're the bad guy. But everyone feels like they're the good guy. And everyone feels like the opposition is the bad guy. And if I'm completely honest with myself, all I am is in the box.
Yep.
I'm just in the box.
And if you don't know that reference, go get the book, Leadership and Self-Deception. It's amazing. It's really easy read because it's told as a narrative instead of a lot of self-help books, which are kind of textbooky. But yeah, and it's true because a lot of times when we're in the mindset to just fight, one, it's just easier.
Yeah.
Right? It's easier to have the emotional response. And we said previously, right, the Daniel Tiger thing, like take a deep breath and count to 4, right? Like we teach children this, but as adults, we have this outrage because how dare someone believe differently than us? And whether we're hangry, whether it's lack of sleep, whatever it is, we want to have this emotional response. And, you know, I go back to Dale Carnegie with How to Win Friends and Influence People. And he brings up the point in that book that you will never win anybody to your way of thinking by proving them wrong and arguing with them.
Yep.
All they're going to do, there's pride involved. Everybody has their pride. And so you can't say, well, dude, you're wrong. Like the facts are these. And that's why we have all this political theater today where we're all fighting because we have different beliefs and we think that we're going to promote peace and bring people to our way of thinking by arguing with them and telling them they're stupid.
Yeah.
I don't know about you, but I've never felt really good about someone who calls me stupid.
Exactly. And I'm honestly, it's weird because we grow up and we play these games and we're involved in sports or chess or whatever. And there's a clear winner and there's a clear loser. And you want to be the winner because winner grandizes you and gives you some semblance of like self-respect, confidence, things of that nature. And I'm not saying there's anything bad about like organized sports or, you know, chess or anything like that, right? I think it's fantastic. Competition, healthy competition is crucial. But I feel like we have to get to a point as we mature that winning isn't our goal. In fact, I believe because of what God, my faith, and me and my house serve, that says that your ultimate destination, the ultimate character of leadership, the ultimate person to look at is somebody who willingly offers self-sacrifice. A worthy self-sacrifice. It says that what? Offer yourself as a worthy sacrifice. He who is behind is ahead. He who is below is above. And I feel like we got to get to the point where it's like, it is a sacrifice to be sitting there and listening to somebody who's talking craziness in your mind.
Yeah.
And you can take the stance of, I want to win this person over, or I want to win this argument, or I want to convince the people that are listening to this craziness that this person is crazy. But is that really the win? Is a win that's interesting. Is the win let's come up with some type of healthy compromise? Is the win there has to be a common ground where both you and I can meet on that level and actually have a discussion. For example, I was having a conversation the other day at work, and I had my T's crossed and my I's dotted, Jake. I was on it. My argument was sound. I feel like my mouthpiece was going. I was silver tonguing, milk and honey were spilling from my voice. I was like, man, did I take my creatine today? Like, I feel good about it. And I was winning. But then one of my, again, confidants in the hierarchy of work, they would be one of my direct reports, but I count on this person to give me wise counsel, and she's brilliant. She said, you know what? We should own our part of this because we didn't do this perfectly. And I said, that's a great call out. And she did that. And then I did that. And instantly we started saying like, hey, we could have done better. Hey, you know what? Honestly, maybe looking at this situation, like this is what we could have X, Y, and D. The other person in the opposition started doing the same thing and we came together as a unit. And now it wasn't one of these, but one of these and how we could fix it and do better. And that just felt so much better. It felt so much better. But it's so hard to take that high road. It's so hard.
It is. What is the old saying? I took the road less traveled, and that's made all the difference.
Yep.
There's a reason it's the one less traveled.
Yep. My wife is good at this. She's fantastic at taking the high road. We'll be in an argument, and she'll just totally back off and like let me win. And I know that she's not feeling what I'm saying. And then I'll come back later and apologize because I know that I should have taken the high road and she did. And I appreciate it about her so much. And I don't know how she does that. Like, I don't know how she does that, but I just have so much respect for her that she does that. Brian Summerhays, which is another one of our work colleagues, brilliant individual. He says, do you want to be right or do you want to stay married? And at the end of the day, it's like, that's such good advice, you know? I don't care about being right. I care about being married. I care about being in a good relationship. I care about peace.
Yeah.
That surpasses all understanding. And I think a lot of the times that we have to sacrifice our egotistical want to be right or justified for the peace that we deserve in our life. And I just haven't built that muscle as well as I'd like to. Like, do you have any tips on how to do that? Like how when you're in it and you're ready and your heels are dug in and your fists are up and you're already beaten, bloodied, and busted up because you've been fighting, do you say, you know what? Let me just drop my hands and say, you're right. Punch me in the face if you want to. I'll turn the other cheek because peace is more important. Like, any tips?
I don't know, man. I thinking on this, it's hard for me at home sometimes.
Me too.
Right? Because of the parent-child dynamics.
Yeah.
Needing to be that coach. I have a really hard time when my teenagers specifically are digging in their heels and they're just struggling with growing up, right? And that's really all it is. Like, they're going through all the physiological changes and hormones are all over the place and things are going on in it. And then they're getting this independence. And the only thing that I have found that works is at those times when they're just really having an emotional response is I have to walk away. And it's a struggle. Because when I know I'm right, to your story before, when you know that you are in the right and the other person is wrong, it's really hard to just let it go. And then I'll try and have the conversation later when everybody's calm. I'm not wonderful at it. I feel I've gotten better. And maybe my kids will agree with me, but that's what I try to do. Or I'll try and there's certain things that trigger me and there's certain things that trigger Elisa. And if we can catch ourselves and be like, okay, I know that's what really gets her blood boiling, and I step in, and if she can do that for me, that's also something that works in our household. At work, it's easier. I always make the joke that it's because HR is watching, and you know, HR is not at home, but
it's harder too, like when you're dealing with people that you love, because you know that there's not that like risk of flight. You know what I mean? Like, your kids aren't going anywhere. Yep. And in our minds, our spouses aren't really going anywhere. So it's like you could like fight a little bit harder, I feel like, than you would with like somebody or a stranger. And I don't know why that's the case. You would think that it's opposite, right? Yeah. But whoever said, to your point, never go to bed, never let the sun set when you're angry, in my mind was a moron. Like, some of the best things I've ever done was like, look, Matt calls it emotionally compromised. Some of the best things that I've done as a husband was look at my wife when we have some type of disagreement. We don't fight all the time. Like, we're 99% of the time, we're good to go. But we had a disagreement and it's like, look, I'm emotionally compromised right now. And I'm going to do something or say something from this position of compromise that I don't really mean and feel. And I don't want to hurt you because I love you. So I need to take a step back and I need to walk away and I need to go to sleep. We need to sleep on this. And in the morning, I'm like, what were we even fighting about?
Yeah, you don't even
The
remember what's going
emotions are
on.
gone. You don't even care. It's like, I'm sorry. You're right. I like your perspective. Like, I can understand where you're coming from. So I
Yeah.
do think that just walking away and having that little buffer is good. And what I found is when you're able to do that with somebody that do you want to be right, or do you want to stay married? I don't care about this person. I ain't married to this person. If it were me, I'd, shotgun their leg off just so I could see them hobbling around a little bit because I don't like them, and not so much, obviously I'm being a little bit more graphic than I need to be, but even in situations like that, where like you are in your mind talking to or arguing with an enemy, because not everyone's your friend. And I don't think any of us are at the place where it's like, love thy neighbor. Oh, Hitler, it's okay that you're taking
Yeah.
the Jewish community and gas chambering them. You're never going to be my friend, bro. But I've noticed that even those type of people, you stopping, saying, that's interesting, and walking away, that's like the deepest night that you could plunge into the argument at the time. When you don't fight, don't take the bait, keep your peace.
Yeah. Totally
by
disarmed
keeping your
them.
peace. Yeah, exactly. And walk away.
And it's interesting. So my big brother, he had a variation on the don't go to bed angry thing. And he
What did
said,
he say?
every night, don't go to bed before you and your spouse kneel in prayer together and you pray together. And he said, the thing is, like, you might be heated and angry and all of that. He said, the thing that has helped my marriage greatly, paraphrasing, more than anything is the fact that he said, me and my wife, we pray together before bed. And that way, any arguments and that hostility and all that, it's like, it's hard to it's hard to stay angry if you're on your knees, humbly talking to the Creator.
That's so good. I think today's verse was your anxieties on the Lord because he cares for you. And
He cares for you.
That's light.
But it's interesting because I had this epiphany. So strangely, it wasn't in the shower having this epiphany. I know that's where we do our best thinking. But I was talking to Elisa about this topic, and I was thinking about the stories of Jesus in the New Testament and how he would seek solitude.
Ooh.
And, he's constantly surrounded by people and constantly having to be on his A game and, this perfect example. And I guarantee you, there had to be some level of frustration and irritation when his disciples just would not get the message.
Oh, I bet.
But did he chew them out? We have no record of that. What we do have records of is times where he would need to go out and he would go into a quiet place or into a solitary place out in the wilderness and he would pray and recharge those batteries. And so I think there is something there to just walk away, go kneel in prayer, get the pulse down a little bit, and foster peace in the home, and that leads to peace in the communities.
Now, in our defense, he did flip some tables in the church and call people, get behind me, Satan. So it's like even Jesus got frustrated, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But to your point, you went and sought that solitude. And I feel like for me, solitude, like solo, I'm looking at myself right now on the thing. Solitude is not disappearing in the bathroom as daddy and watching YouTube videos for 45 minutes. Okay? That's not seeking solitude. That's not what Jesus was talking about. Put down the devices, put down the distractions, and be still and know that God is God. Talk to him, prayer, meditate, breathe. Don't have any distractions, because I feel like, at least for me, and maybe I'm different, I don't think that I've had a moment of solitude in a long time. I think the only moment of solitude that I've had are like getting from the car where I had music or a podcast on to walking in the house where people are, like going from the TV on at night, Netflix, to turning it off and going to sleep, seeking solitude in that quiet time and that quiet place is something that's very foreign, or at least few and far between in my life. And I think, to your point, Jake, now that you bring it up, one of the most peaceful times that I've had was when I promised to meditate in between like arenas in my life. I work at home, I'm working. Before I go to my family, I'm going to sit in silence for 10, 15 minutes, breathe, pray, meditate, then go. That was like super impactful. super impactful. So I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna take your lead on that. It's good to
Um,
be back, man. You be putting stuff in my head all the time.
I love having you back, buddy. The only times I really find it, 'cause to your point, is as a parent and working stuff, and working from home. The downside to that is you don't have the commute home.
Yeah.
It's harder to have that time to flip the switch from
Yeah.
work brain to dad brain.
Yeah.
And so whether it is shutting down the computer, turning off the devices, and just finding some quiet peace before leaving the home office and walking back into the rest of the house. For me, it used to be in the mornings. Now my knees have been bothering me, so I haven't been able to run as much, but I actually am figuring that out finally. And I would go to this dog park where they have a 2-mile loop around a lake, and I would go there at like 5:30 in the morning. And
That's
it's
cool.
quiet. And I would just run because running calms me down. And then, it's kind of the competition with myself to keep going. And when I was doing this consistently, I would spend an hour just jogging around this lake multiple times, and then at the end I'd go sit on a bench, and the sun's just coming up, and it's beautiful, and there's the ripples in the water, and there's a whole bunch of native birds flying around and everything, and it was just quiet,
That's cool.
and it would help me center before I would go face the day.
That's so good. I found that like organically has happened to me. So like we went from Arizona. I'm in Charlotte. For those of you who don't know, East Coast EST. And I came from Arizona, which is weird. We don't do the whole daylight savings thing, which really is not weird. You'd think that everyone would do that, but I digress. It's 3-hour time difference. And coming back from 3 hours earlier to 3 hours later has done, man, this jet lag is something fierce. And like my eating, I'm like starving at 11 o'clock. Like, why am I so hungry? Because it's really 10, 9, 8 o'clock right now. It's kind of like dinner time-esque. And my family, my wife and my kids, especially the little ones, their circadian rhythm don't know what's going on. But it's good because I have to be at work. So my alarm's going off at like 7-ish and I'm up, and they're sleeping till like 10 because 7 to them is 10 out here.
Yep.
10, 9, 8, 7. So like I wake up and it's 7 and I'm like, it's quiet. And I go downstairs and I get like some coffee and I'm like getting ready and I'm like being able to chill and do this stuff. And I'm like, this is fantastic, because I am not predominantly a 4:30 in the morning waker, 5:30 at the lake running laps. Like not me. 5:30, you could almost bet your bottom dollar that Solo is asleep at 5:30.
Because Solo's up at 1 and 2 in the morning.
Oh yeah, but if you need someone to help you out because you just got pulled over for a DUI and you need someone to drive you home sober, like I'm up. Like I got you. I'll be right there.
He'll leave his number in the chat.
Yeah, exactly. So I've noticed that quiet time in the morning is just so peaceful. So I might try and just take a page out of your book, Jake, and just go to bed a little bit earlier and wake up just to get that peace. Because again, it's a worthy self-sacrifice. It's a worthy sacrifice to sacrifice that time at night, because I'm not doing anything productive. I'm not inventing things or like solving world hunger. I'm like binge watching some bootleg Netflix show or playing a video game. You know what I mean? Like it's not productive stuff. Yeah. So I would sacrifice that for the peace that comes with that sacrifice and the morning time and it being still. So I might do that too. Let me write that down. I got a lot of work to do after this podcast.
He's got his to-do list coming back. So friends, the point here, we know in all forms of theology, and we're gonna go back to teachings of Jesus here in just a moment, but to promote peace, like one, it's everywhere. Like all theology says we should be promoting peace and not anger and hatred and all the things. I think we can all buy into that. I think what we've just been discovering over the last little bit is it starts with inner peace. You have to be at peace in your heart. Now, the follow-up book to Leadership and Self-Deception is an amazing book. I actually like it better than the first one.
Me too.
Which is The Anatomy of Peace. And it's all about finding that heart at peace. And when your heart is at peace and you're at peace in yourself, you can then promote peace in your home and with those close to you, which allows you to do it at work and then move it into the community and actually be a force for good for the entire world, which is what we ultimately aspire, or should at the very least aspire to do. So I want to read just a small excerpt out of this sermon that I gave. And the reason I do this, so I spent several days just praying and studying and trying to understand what is the message I needed to share with the congregation I was speaking to. And when I went Saturday after being at a swim meet, Saturday afternoon, and I sat down to try and put all my thoughts on paper because I had a whole bunch of thoughts. And I tell you, it just flowed out. And any time that it just comes out naturally and easily, I know that it's God putting it in my heart. And so I want to share this. So I'm going to try and do this without getting too emotional because this one can be
Get emotional, my friend.
I can get it'll be a little hard to get through. So if we go to the last week of Jesus's life here on earth, where he had the Last Supper. So this is, as a leader, he's been preaching his gospel of peace for the last few years. He knows that he's about to go give the ultimate sacrifice, suffer for our sins, knows he's going to die on the next day. And it's his last message to his followers. And so it makes you, if you want to do the introspective thought here and say, okay, well, if I had one last chance to share words of wisdom with my kids or with your team at work or whatever it may be, with those who mean the most to you, what would it be? And so I'm gonna read this because this is where I wanted to start. The sermon says, during the last night of his mortal ministry, Jesus spent the evening with his disciples having one last Passover supper. It must have been an especially emotional meal, as Jehovah from the Old Testament, who had commanded Moses to institute the Passover supper, was now enjoying it one last time before he would lay down his life as the last sacrificial lamb, whose blood would be shed not just for the families then celebrating Passover, but for all men and women who had lived, were then living, and who would yet live on the earth. In a spirit of both foreshadowing and of teaching, he broke bread and shared wine as a symbol of the new covenant he was making with those who would choose to follow him. He knelt in humility to wash his disciples' dirty feet, always the perfect example of servant leadership. And he then taught them some of the most touching and loving truths we find in Scripture, I believe because he knew how the next few days would be crushing to his special followers.
Oh, yeah.
And therefore he used his precious last few hours that he would have before being taken by the Sanhedrin, the leaders of the Jewish faith, to feed his sheep. And what truths did he then teach them? And we find in the chapter in the book of John, starting in chapter 13, he says, "Ye call me Master and Lord, and ye say, well, for so I am. If I then, your Lord and Master, have washed your feet, ye also ought to wash one another's feet. For I have given you an example that ye should do as I have done to you. And if ye know these things, happy are ye if ye do them." He then taught, "A new commandment I give unto you, that ye love one another as I have loved you, that ye also love one another." It says, "I am the way, the truth, and the life. No man cometh unto the Father but by me. If ye love me, keep my commandments. It says, as the Father hath loved me, so have I loved you. Continue ye in my love. If ye keep my commandments, ye shall abide in my love, even as I have kept my Father's commandments and abide in his love. This is my commandment, that ye love one another as I have loved you. Greater love hath no man than this, that a man lay down his life for his friends. Ye are my friends, if ye do whatsoever I command you. These things I command you, that ye love one another." The final thing he taught his disciples was, go replicate the example that I gave to you and promote love and peace in the world. He says, you are my friends if you do this. And I find it amazing. Right, then sometime later it says the disciples are on the seashore. Jesus is resurrected. He showed himself to them. He then, a week later, when Thomas was there, showed himself again. And then he finds them sometime later. He's on the seashore, and they're out just doing their thing, playing their sports, playing their video games. They're out there fishing.
Thing that they were doing before he even came.
Thing they were doing before. And so he just spent, the last night of his life, he's teaching them, hey, you need to go do this. And he replicates the miracle of the fishes and overflows their nets with fish. And then they recognize who he is at that point, and they go have a little lunch. And Jesus then asks Peter, Lovest thou me? Says, yea, Lord, thou knowest I love thee. Feed my sheep. And he repeats that admonition a couple more times. There's nothing better we can do. We all have our responsibilities, right? I'm not saying like we all need to give up our jobs and sell our house and go be, hermits and dedicate the rest of our life trying to just get by and do things, right? But what I'm saying, the single greatest message in Christianity, in my opinion, is this message. He repeated it multiple times in those last few chapters of John. Love one another. Go feed my sheep. And friends, that is the call to action, if you will. We start with peace here in our own hearts. Find that, right? Pray for it. If you're having struggles with hostility and anger and you wonder, why is everybody hating? And you can't just get past it yourself. Just the outrage at everything going on in the world. One, maybe turn off the news for a while.
Maybe.
It'll help, right? Find things that are going to lift you up. Listen to this podcast. We're not going to, it's always going to be positive. But find that inner peace. Ask the Lord to take that resentment out of your heart. There's Canfield said it before. I love this quote that he gave. He said, holding on to resentment, and you can substitute in anger or hostility, whatever adjective you want there. But holding on to resentment or bitterness towards another human being is like drinking poison and hoping the other person gets sick.
Yeah.
So find the inner peace. And then from there, our call to action is to find ways to foster peace and love in your community, your homes, with your neighbors. Let go of the outrage. What you focus on grows stronger. If you're focusing on the hatred, the anger, you're just going to find more of it. But if instead you find ways to give back, to serve, right? Follow the Savior's example and metaphorically wash another's feet, then you will be an instrument in God's hands to bringing peace to this world.
I also would say, to your point, no one in their right mind would be Tabasco saucing in their mouth every 5 seconds and then saying, why is it just so spicy in here? Why am I so hot and sweaty? Why am I burning up? It's because you're consuming hot sauce. I think a lot of us consume anger. We consume contention. We consume all of these things that make us anti-peace, pro-war, anti-peace, pro-fighting. And to truly stop, you have to stop consuming those things that, let's just be honest, we're all addicted to. You might not be addicted to smoking crack, and you're sure quick to judge that person that's smoking crack on the sidewalk. Yeah. But that crack is just as that addicted to violence, addicted to fighting, addicted to saying the other side is the villain, is just as detrimental to your spirit and your soul as smoking crack. So you got to go through detox. And it's not going to feel good turning off the news. It's not going to feel good turning off Fox or turning off CNN. It's not going to feel good to not go on social media. It's not going to feel good to put your phone down and sit in peace. It's not going to feel good. But again, we're called for a worthy self-sacrifice. What are you willing to sacrifice in your life to give you the peace and the life that you deserve? Are you willing to throw away that hot sauce? Even though it tastes good, you like it spicy. You're used to it. To get the peace that you need and deserve in your life. And on top of that, are you willing to keep your peace to keep your peace? You don't got to say what you feel. You don't got to express your side of the topic. You can keep your peace to keep your peace. None of us need you to convince anybody else that what you think is right and what we think is wrong. None of us need that. And in fact, not doing that is so rare these days that the folks that have that self-awareness, self-control, are so special and few and far between that we look at them with admiration. And those are the folks that could sit there, smile and say, love, like in the cartoon, and maybe accomplish what you're trying to accomplish by fighting and convince somebody on the other side to join you.
Bridges, not bombs.
Build bridges. Build bridges. Now, you know what I want to know though, bro? I want to know what was on the menu at that Last Supper. Like, in my mind, they're eating lobster. There's some crab over there, Like, they got some steaks. Like, what was on the menu? Hopefully no lamb. Like, hopefully they weren't eating no, lamb chops or anything. That would have been awkward. But I want to know what was on that Last Supper, what was on God's Last Supper menu?
I don't think it was the buffet from the cruise, man.
It wasn't the cruise buffet, but it had to be
the ceremonial supper.
Yeah, I want to know what God's Last Supper was. Maybe I'm gonna get that for dinner because I'm hungry.
I hate to break it to you, it was lamb.
Well, no, right? The lamb chops.
It was lamb and unleavened bread. Yeah, it's the feast of unleavened bread. I tell you, I prefer lamb over the beef. Truthfully,
lamb is fantastic.
I love
lamb chops.
So good.
Lamb chops are fantastic.
Yeah, one parting thought I have. I was listening to Tony Robbins. There's a book of his I got on Audible right now, and I'm listening to it. And he was talking about giving back. And I think one of the single easiest ways to promote goodness and love and faith and all the positive things in this world is finding ways to serve and give back. And so whether it's a monetary donation to a good cause, those are always good, just as long as the nonprofit is doing good things with the money. But finding ways to do that. But he used the example from his childhood. So Tony Robbins, amazingly successful now, has done so much good with his life. Grew up very poor. And he said a lot of times in his household as a child, they were going hungry.
Wow. I didn't know that.
And he, before he made it big, when he was independent, right? He's all on his own as teenager and early 20s. He was living in his car for a while because he couldn't afford his own place, and paycheck to paycheck. And I think, if I remember right, he was doing custodial work for a while and other things, and was really struggling to make ends meet. But as a child, and he said he specifically remembers that they would, like Thanksgiving dinner, and they wouldn't have hardly anything. And he would see all his friends and other people like having these amazing meals. And he said one day someone came to his door and unannounced, knocked on the door and brought them an actual Thanksgiving dinner.
So good.
All the trimmings. And it stuck with him forever. And he just couldn't believe that somebody, and I don't even think he knew the guy, cared about his family enough, had excess of theirs enough to share. And so that's not why one of his biggest causes that he supports is, that Feeding America or one of these programs, right? And they're feeding the hungry. Friends, you'll never know. Most of the time, there are rare occasions where you will know, but most of the time you will never know how much of an impact you'll have on other people's life because of your selflessness in whether it's monetary donations in that kind of giving, whether it's just giving of your time to work with the Boys and Girls Club of America or, youth organizations, or after, natural disasters, going and helping with, support families affected by the wildfires in California or the hurricanes in the South. There's so many different ways to get involved. And the moment you do, if you've never done this, find a cause. There's tons of places where you can volunteer. You can go spend time at, a rest home with the elderly, where you're just helping combat loneliness. Like there's all sorts of things you can do. If you've never had the opportunity to go do that, go give of your time. It will change you.
It will.
And that is the way we each can individually impact, starting with one, but then dozens and hundreds and thousands and ultimately millions of lives.
I love that. And I would even say, because you're 1,000% right, sacrificing your time for a worthy cause is so life-changing, isn't it? That said, it doesn't have to be some huge, big, grand thing. You want to hear something embarrassing? So I was at the gym 2 days ago. I'm trying to get my fitness on again, okay? I'm trying to get swole. I'm trying to get swole, our audience.
Solo's getting swolo.
Trying to get swolo, right? And it's like, I show up to the gym, one of these big box gyms, at like 7:30, and it was cracking. Like, it was packed. You could smell the influenza and COVID in the air. It's just hot, like humid. Not from because it was humid outside, but just from all the sweat and breath. I'm like, oh my God, like, this is the last time I'm doing this.
Not
like, that's why you need to go to the
place.
gym in the morning. Yeah, it was rough. But like, I'm sitting there, like, every machine's taken, everything's taken. I finally find, just because by the grace of God, a parking spot that's like 2 miles away, it felt like. And then I walk in, and then like a squat rack comes open after like 20 minutes. And it's just like one of the squat racks. You can do a lot of stuff, right? You can do squats, you can do overhead press, you can do bent over rows. And I'm like, you know what? I'm going to do my workout on this spot. And I don't know if it was just in the air or what, but I had like people just swarming, just waiting around me. I had like a whole bunch of people sitting behind me. And I'm thinking like, dang, man, like in my mind, I'm like, they better not ask me to get off the squat rack. Like I've been waiting too. I need to get my workout in. Feeling real selfish, right?
Mm-hmm.
I even went so far as to like, I'm going to buy some MMA shirts on Amazon so people think I can fight. So they ain't messing with me, you know? And I'm like, dude, where's my mind at right now, right? Like I'm in a whole level. This guy finally comes up and has the gumption to say, hey man, how many more sets you got? I said, it's gonna be a while, bro. All deep voiced. And I could just see like it pissed him off, right? Like this guy just sitting on this rack doing his whole workout, like get off the thing. And I was sitting there. And then I seen like one of the trainers with some of their training come, and he's just like sitting there waiting and like cut this guy. And I'm like, they ain't cutting this dude. I'm not giving him my squat rack when this dude just asked me and I just punked him. And I was like, you know what? I could get like 3 or 4 more exercises in, be on this thing for about 20 more minutes, 30 more minutes, probably get a good workout in on this thing, but I'm not. I'm going to let this guy have the squat rack. So I'm like, hey, bro, like called him over. He passed the people that were trying to cut him. And I said, hey, man, I know you've been waiting, and this place is crazy. Let me just finish up this last set. You can jump in. I got you. And his eyes lit up like, thank you, man. Like, thank you. And he was a stranger. And it made me feel infinitely times better than getting a couple more reps on the squat rack. So it's like, if you're not going to go to the food bank, if you're not going to go in, to the nursing home and really do things that are sacrificing your time to change your life, just try and find ways in the day that you can sacrifice for another. You don't have to take the sins of the world on like Jesus did, right? But can you take the sins of waiting at the next light because you let the person in traffic? Can you take the sins of maybe I didn't get a workout in because I let this person jump on the squat rack? Can you take the sins of, oh, that person is absolutely wrong in what they're spitting right now, but I'm going to give them the self-respect to feel confident in what they're saying and just nod my head and not say anything and just keep my peace? Can you give a worthy self-sacrifice to another? That's the question. And that's what I think the Mother Teresa's and the Martin Luther Kings and all of these wonderful spiritual texts are asking us to do, because that's what changes the world.
Absolutely. 100%. I love that. And yeah, let someone rotate in. There's simple things.
Let's get them in.
If you've got a shopping cart just full of groceries and you've been waiting in line and someone comes up and all they got is a Gatorade and a candy bar,
let them in.
Go ahead of you.
Yeah.
Don't cut people off in traffic. If there's someone trying to get out of a parking lot, it's 5 seconds. Like, let them pull in ahead of you. It's not a huge deal, right?
Prioritize sacrifice over privilege. Prioritize self-sacrifice over rights. I think that we've changed as a nation from a nation that just really respects and adores responsibility, and we've replaced it with our rights.
Their entitlements.
Our entitlements. We're entitled to. We have a right to. It's like, yeah, but we also have a responsibility for. And I think that responsibility and sacrifice trump rights and entitlement 10 times out of 10.
So, as we're saying, friends, detox your heart and then find ways to be that ambassador for peace and love in the world. We all crave it, but it takes every single one of us working at it to then we can be the virus of love and peace and just allow it to infect everybody around us. And yeah,
if you wanted, I would say, to your point, detox your heart, watch Nona's on Netflix, the Vince Vaughn movie. Bro, I was crying like a baby almost the whole time. Fantastic.
I've heard you talk about it. I need
Fantastic movie. So, chat, watch Nona's on Netflix. I dare you. And if you don't have a cold, dead heart in your chest, you will cry too.
I'm sure I will. I'm gonna prioritize that one solo. Lisa and I were looking for one, so we're gonna do that.
Yeah, they'll feel goods.
Well, friends, we love you. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. And until next time, this is Iron Sharpens Iron signing off.